50,000 words in 30 days. Yes, you can do it.
Alright guys, it is day 15 and I'm sitting at 37,000 words and some change. And I am super excited about where my story is, but I am not really taking the time to sit down and write. Yesterday I spent the entire day reading a book. Yeah, I literally from like 9 in the morning to like 4 in the afternoon was just reading a book. But it was a really good book, and it was called The Running Man by Stephen King. Actually, it's under his pen name of Richard Bachman that he only used for a couple or a few years or something, but it was actually a really good book and it was very engaging, and obviously I read it through in one read, but kind of did that instead of focusing on reading. And today I've been working a lot on filming instead of writing. I have written about 1,200 words ish today, and I'm gonna keep writing. Obviously I'm not just gonna stop. Like, the lowest I've had so far is 800 words, and I'm not gonna do another day that low. My goal is minimum 2,000 a day, which is really reasonable for me, because if I just block out 30 minutes and just focus on typing and writing it out, I can tend to get about 1,000 words, anywhere between 800 and 1,000 if I just sit there and focus on the writing. And so today I wanted to talk about the benefit of word sprints and how they work for me to be able to effectively get such kinds of word counts in such a short period of time. So those of you who watch my channel for my personality stuff would know that I'm an ENFP, which means my leading cognitive function is extroverted intuition. And with extroverted intuition, I have ideas. I have ideas for days. I can come up with ideas at any time. Like, I can just be like, oh, maybe this could happen, or maybe this could happen, or maybe this could happen. So that's not really my problem when it comes to writing. My problem isn't really coming up with what I could write. My problem is, does it fit with the rest of what I've written? Does it make sense with the story? Does it make sense with the characters? Would this actually physically be able to happen in the story? These are the things that cause me hesitation. And when it comes to doing a word sprint, I basically flip into that side of myself. I just get into that idea mode and I just type, tap away. You know, I've done the brainstorming. I have like a quick outline, but really it's like a sentence, and that sentence might be what happens in 2 chapters. I really don't know, but that sentence is kind of like a vague idea of what's going to happen. And when I write, I just think about that idea and I write. However, here's where word sprints can go awry for myself personally. When I try to do a word sprint and I don't set a timer, immediately I give up before any amount of time's gone. I'll give up after 10 minutes if I don't set a timer, because I'm like, oh well, you know, I said I was gonna write until 7:50, but you know, it's okay. There's no timer going. Whatever, no one will judge me for only writing 150 words in a 30-minute block of time, because they don't know what I've been doing. And then the other thing is distractions are pretty easy, so I don't close things. I don't close my internet. I like to have a few tabs open that have like research on them or videos, etc., etc. However, I keep that out of sight, out of mind while I'm writing, while I'm in those blocks of writing sprint times. So I minimize everything except for my sound. So I use Spotify for music, my timer, and my word processor. So those are the only 3 things up that I see while I'm in that writing, and I keep the timer where I can see it. I don't like to see the whole time, because then I'll just watch it tick down, but I like to see enough of it that I know that it's moving, and that I know if I keep going a little bit longer, more time will pass. And eventually the whole half hour has passed and I've written nearly 1,000 words. 10 minutes is not a very effective block of time for me. I can't really get into it, and then I lose focus and I forget where I am at, and nothing seems to make sense. So 10 minutes is not good for myself personally. 15 minutes is about the same story. 20 is disappointing because I really got into it and then I'm stopping myself short of the full capacity of what I can do. So I found that for myself, 30 is the sweet spot. 30 is the point where I can take the 5 minutes to get into starting the writing and really just pummel out some words, just type them out and get them onto the paper and have some story to look at in front of me. No reading back, no outlining during this time. During this 30-minute sprint, I am just writing. And for me, that has been the most effective. So for those of you guys who do word sprints, if you're struggling with actually coming up with the words, if you're struggling with focus, try a couple of these tricks I was talking about. Clear off your computer screen so you only see the writing stuff. Make sure that you see the timer and you know how much time you have so you can kind of use that as a motivator. And the third one, which isn't really so much a problem for me right now with this story, but it could be a problem for a lot of people, is, you know, that inner critic, that critic that's saying, oh, this is terrible, this doesn't make sense, it's horrible, blah, 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 blah. You have to turn that off while you're in your writing sprint. Just go for it. Because even if you end up erasing it later, for NanoWrimo, you can count that in your word count. And you never know if that dialogue will be useful. You never know if that will spark another idea. You never know if it might end up being a key scene in your book that you thought was terrible. So turn off that inner critic and let yourself write. Anyway, I'm done being Mama Michelle. I'm gonna get back to doing my thing, and I will see you cats on the flip side. Guys, I am at 48,000 words. Like, my mind is personally blown right now. I am doing better than I literally ever have. I mean, that's just been like the theme of this year's NanoWrimo, but I'm literally doing amazing right now, and it just won't stop. And I'm pretty sure that to finish the story, I'm gonna have to go over 50,000. Really, the amount of words that I have left, 2,000, is only about a chapter, and I think I have a total of like 2.5 chapters left. So I'll probably end the book with probably about 55,000, which I was looking it up, and like the average length of a book is about 64,000, and once I do my edits and add in some pieces that are missing, I think it's going to end up being about that much, which I may actually do that this month while I have the time, kind of go through it and see if there's things that I can add. I took a lot of like comments as I was going where I wrote like, hey, you know, work on this, or, you know, fix this logical flaw, or things like that. I just, if I noticed it in the time, I would put some kind of note, let myself know, hey, go back to this at some point. It's only 7:20 on day 19 and I'm at 48,000 words. Okay, I'm gonna get back to writing. But yeah, I'm freaking excited. Wah! Yes! Bye. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. I can't fully validate this until tomorrow. But look at that. I freaking wrote 50,000 freaking words in 19 days. I'm sorry, but I feel pretty freaking good. I wasn't really sure that I was going to be able to do it today. I was like, you know, my boyfriend was like, Michelle, you better freaking finish the whole 50,000 today. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it. There's no way, blah, 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 and all these excuses. But I did it. And let me look. As of today, I wrote 6,745 words today in a single day. It is possible. I didn't even spend a whole like 5 hours writing probably. Like, it's amazing how much you can write when you're like feeling your story. Now, of course, my story isn't done. It's still probably got 2 chapters, but I finally finished the chapter that I was working on. So hopefully I can finish it in the next couple days before Thanksgiving. But I freaking wrote 50,000 words in 19 days. Okay, till next time. Bye. So, I wrote a novel in a month. It's done. I mean, it's not perfect, and I'm still kind of going through it. I've actually decided that these last, this last week of the month, I'm gonna try to just go through, read it, and add, scenes that might be missing, or flashbacks that maybe need to be there, or, work a little bit on the prose. That's pretty much the things that I'm gonna focus on the next couple weeks. But yeah, I finished a friggin' novel in a friggin' month. And it wasn't even a month, it was 19 days. I finished it, I finished the actual thing yesterday, so 20 days or whatever. It's pretty crazy, but it actually has led me to realize that I really want to be able to work full time on my writing. I really want to be able to focus my time and energy on writing and create a novel series that's going to really impact people. It's going to change people's way of thinking about things and get them thinking a little bit about the future and what could happen. And also to think about themselves, because not entirely is this just about future technology. Really in this novel, I don't talk a whole lot about the technology, a little bit, but really the main focus is escapism and trying to avoid problems. And everyone's trying to avoid the problems while the main character is taking them head on. And it's kind of to get you thinking, how am I escaping things in life? What are the things that I'm doing to avoid taking care of what I need to do because it's too hard, it's too emotional, it's too scary. So that's kind of the point of the book. That, and it's just a cool story. High stakes, which it had to be. The last one was super high stakes, so even it's not going to be as high stakes as the last one, but the stakes are still pretty high. There's a lot of intensity in the novel. I mean, I want there to be enough action that people who like action will be interested in it, though I wouldn't say it's a fully action-y book by any means. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot about how I got to this point, and I really can say that the main thing is I loved what I was writing about. I wanted to know what happened next. I wanted to get it out, and I wanted to be able to read it. So I've been trying to read a lot as well during this month. Some people try to avoid reading while they're writing. Some people try to take breaks during NanoWrimo because they're like, oh, well, if I read, I'm never gonna have time to write. I actually think it's important, at least for me, at least the way my brain works, to read while you're writing. It's been very beneficial for me to read while I've been writing. I've been reading a few books this last month. I read The Running Man by Stephen King. I'm working on Pandemic by Scott Siegler. Scott Siegler is one of my absolute favorite authors. I just love his style. He's so great. Very different from Stephen King, but they have similar kinds of grunginess, if that makes sense. Like, they're not afraid to cuss, and that's something that I also want to do in my novels. I want to be not afraid to cuss, because that's how people are, that's how people talk. And the way that they do third person is it's third person limited, and you can kind of hear what the person's thinking, even though they're not saying I. I think it reads a little better than a first person, and I think it's easier to describe the actions if you're using third person than if you are using first person. Because in your head, think about this. Do you go, oh, I reached for the glass of water to take a drink? No, you don't think those things. So it comes off as a little unnatural to do first person unless you avoid talking about the physical actions completely, which I've tried. I've tried writing in first person with this character, and I like her voice a lot, but I just don't think first person fully works for what I'm trying to do. And what's funny is 2 years ago, I thought the story was going to be in first person, and I started to rewrite the whole thing in first person. But now I realize, no, this story is a third person story, third person limited. Don't get me wrong, it's not like an omnipotent narrator, but it is in third person and it is in past tense, and I think it just makes it read easier. It's more enjoyable for me to write, and it's the style that I like reading. The third book that I've been reading, to get back to that point, is Feast for Crows, I think is what it's called, the fourth Game of Thrones book. And George R.R. Martin is also one of my favorite authors, and people can bash him all they want for the story, whatever. However, something that he does really effectively well is create a voice for each character. So each chapter, if you haven't read it, each chapter is in a different viewpoint of a different character. So you might get a chapter of Cersei, you might get a chapter of Arya, you might get a chapter of Jaime Lannister, you might get a chapter of Tywin, or Tyrion, sorry. Tywin doesn't have any chapters, I don't believe. You get Jon Snow, you get all the favorite characters. They actually have their point of view in the story, and you get to see. And what's really cool is how you can tell who you're reading just by the way it's written, just by the things that they're paying attention to, the things that they talk about in their prose. So he's still describing everything, he's still telling you what's happening, he's still showing you the actions, but depending on the character, they might pay attention to different details, and they might call out those different details. It's still in third person. It's not every chapter in first person, because that would be terribly confusing. You have at least like 10 to 15 characters in each book who have their own chapters. However, it's just really well done. You can really see what the character's thinking and think what the character's thinking, and see why they're making the decisions. And something that I've been realizing about my book, and what I like to read and what I want to make sure my book has, I love to feel like my character, or the person that I'm reading, is making the right decision based off the information that she has, or they have. But I also want to feel like if they're making the wrong decision, that I want to reach in and tell them the right decision. You know, I want to care about them enough that I would tell them they're making the wrong decision. Which is different than being like, oh, they're stupid, they're making the wrong decision. Do you see the difference? I want to reach in and grab them and yell at them and be like, don't you see what's going on? It's so obvious. So that's what I'm trying to create. Going back through, I'm also fixing some linear issues, like logical issues, like, you know, keeping things consistent, like the number of sleepers, who are people who are in a coma. For those of you who haven't read the book, which is all of you, there are sleepers, there are people in a coma. There are, I wrote it down somewhere. Oh gosh, I don't know, it's, 64,376 sleepers. I had a lot of different numbers in there because I never wrote it down, and I was just like making things up off the top of my head. Now, many of you, that could be why it's hard to keep up with things, because you just feel like, if I don't know what's going on, if I don't say the right thing, it's going to be such a hard thing to fix. It's actually not. Details are pretty easy to fix, and you can easily switch things around. You can even keep scenes and just change the characters there, or put a little preface as to how that happened. Something that I tend to fail to do is kind of make smooth transitions. So how did this end up being over here? You can't just jump. Is this character, you know, perpetually crying or whatever? So that's kind of what I'm working on now as well. I know that this video is turning out to be a little rambly, but I just wanted to give you a little insight as to my thoughts and how it's going along. And yeah, I wrote a book in a month, and I did it in 19 days, 20 days, and just in time for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and I get to just go and eat with my friends and my family and just have a good time. And for those of you who watch my channel for my personality stuff and not so much my writing stuff, I apologize that I've been putting out all these writing videos. But I am going to be putting out some videos shortly. One about ENFP childhood, what that's like, and a little bit about different personalities and how they work with ENFPs in the workplace. So look forward to that for those of you who watch that, and for the rest of you, happy writing. Talk to me about how your story is going, and I will see you next time. Bye!